I'm actually going to start with an end, because I spoke at MojoCon last year, and this was my closing slide of my presentation last year. And at the time I was, I think I was making I was alluding to the evolution of a mobile journalist. And certainly over the 12 months since then, my own sort of understanding and practicing of what a mobile journalist is has also evolved. If you look up Mojo in the dictionary, this is what it will tell you. And in this room, in front of this audience, I think there'll be few dissenters to that definition. In RTE News, up until about 12 months ago, the definition of Mojo was, broadly speaking, this. It was filming a television news report on a smartphone. Over the past 12 months, it has evolved. So it now very definitely includes this idea, that it's creating content on a mobile device for consumption on a mobile device. And that content is primarily content for social media. What has sort of caused what's behind the evolution of my thinking on this? Well, obviously there are several contributing factors. You know, there's a changing media landscape, there's different technology that becomes available. But one thing that troubled me, or wasn't troubled, I had a nagging doubt in what I was doing in my first incarnation of Mojo, was I simply taking the new technology of Mojo and applying it to the old model of television? And would I not be better to do this, which was to create a new kind of content for the growing mobile and social platforms? And that's what we've been sort of immersed in over the last few months. And at the time of thinking about how we were going to do this, I was obviously looking at what best practice was elsewhere, and there are several sort of key features of this new content. You guys, you'll all be familiar with this idea, but you know, for me, these are the key features. So, it's going to be short. It's going to be visual. There's also music, which is ironic because this slide says it's going to be mute. Nicely done over there. It's going to be shareable. And in our case, in RTE, we've actually been making this content with apps, using the devices themselves to make content, because we know in ever-increasing numbers, the audience is consuming this content on those devices themselves. So over the 12-month period, I have kind of explored and experimented with 50+ different apps to create different kinds of content. That content could be videos, collages, simple data visualizations, GIFs, slideshows, animations, all being done on the phone for those social channels. And in RTE, the culmination of all that experimentation and exploration kind of was a particular Mojo strategy that we had for the general election campaign. And the reality is that we might be deploying the same strategy very soon if I know there are people from Leinster House in the audience here today, so we might need to rely on some of these tricks again in the near future. But we had a Mojo team in the newsroom who were making this kind of content, a small team. We had reporters on the road who were using Mojo to provide a specific kind of content for social media. And we had a Mojo strategy in place for our results weekend, which is the biggest news story of the year in Ireland, the general election results. What does that content look like in terms of when it's deployed? Well, this is an example of the kind of thing that we were doing in the newsroom. We did sort of explainer videos of each of the 40 constituencies, and we used an app called Adobe Voice to produce this kind of thing, which is just basically everything you need to know about the Dublin West constituency in a minute. This content went online, it went onto our social platforms, and it actually went on television as well. We had a politics program that used these explainers as well. All created on an iPad with one app. So it's a simple combination of text and images to create a simple explainer video. But this is being done on a free app. And for us, it fulfilled a need of supplying a type of content we have to do. It was being done in the newsroom, and as I said, it travelled. Now I won't necessarily let you watch all the candidates for Dublin West, because we have lots of candidates standing in our election, but you get the picture. On the road, we had 5 reporters who were basically assigned to the main political parties, and one of the reporters was assigned to the independents. And rather than give them the full suite of Mojo apps that we had been using, the small team in the newsroom, we basically identified 3 or 4 apps that we would get them to use on the road to provide a specific kind of content, again for social platforms. Because we've been experimenting and because we've been exploring, we knew that the Storio app could be very effectively sort of deployed in this scenario, because Storio is an app which uses the metadata of your photographs to tell your story. We had these guys on the road, effectively doing a road trip. This app was a nice fit for them. And for those of you who don't know Storio, we'll just have a quick glimpse at Storio. So as you can see, you get a nice map, you get a locator. This is from my colleague Sharon Tobin. She was with Joan Burton. She was taking photographs through the day. It just meant she had a sort of pictorial record of where Joan Burton had been during the day. And the kind of idea behind this is that, you know, maybe it's for the audience that at the end of the day, they aren't necessarily interested in the minutiae of what's been happening on the campaign trail. They just want to get a picture of where the politician has been and the fact that we were with them at the time. And it's a simple slideshow, but it tells a story, and it combines the data that's attached to the original photograph to bring in those nice maps, which tells you, you know, it's just an extra ingredient. We also had, as I said, a specific strategy for the election results weekend. And again, we slimmed down the opportunities for the apps. Like, there's loads of apps and you've got loads of choice, but basically we narrowed it down again. So yes, we had been using loads of apps in the newsroom. Yes, the guys on the road had been given a handful of apps. But when you've got multiple reporters across the country in various different count centres, we basically told them to use one app. Partly because it gave us a uniformity of coverage. This app is Pick, Play, Post. It just allows you to sort of combine multiple elements in one video. And on big news events like an election, there's a lot of noise. You need to be able to stand out. You need to be able to be distinct. So we had all our reporters doing this kind of thing. And in this instance, it's Mary Calpin reporting from Tipperary.
The independent candidates here in Tipperary with Michael Lowry, Matty McGrath,
this is all being done on phone,
all taking seats.
Produced on phone and pushed out by the phone as well, for the audience that is consuming on phone.
And the independent candidate Seamus Healy.
So these were just snapshots from the various election counts.
It was a bad day for Fine Gael. 2 government ministers both lost their seats.
Enough of the election.
First time in the history of...
What were our take-homes? I think, you know, I've been thinking about this. What were our take-homes as for RTE News on the back of this strategy? Well, you know, we had good figures. We had a good election across the board. We had a good election on social media. We are, in the last few months, we are creating mobile-friendly content for the first time. We're actually acknowledging that we've got an audience on these platforms, and we have to create a kind of content for those who are just consuming RTE news on social platforms on their phones. We kind of stood out a bit. As I said, there's a lot of noise there, but we were, we'd given some thought and some imagination to what the kind of content that we were creating. We certainly broadened our coverage, and I think we enriched it as well. We were able to capture and share key moments quickly, because capture them on the phone, you can obviously publish from the phone. You've had it said before, the iPhone, whatever smartphone it is, it's the one camera that is connected to your audience. And the overall experience from the reporting team was they enjoyed engaging with the technology. They enjoyed doing this kind of work. It gave a different dimension and a different dynamic to reporters who have been primarily, for most of their careers, been doing television, radio, and latterly online. So it was an entirely positive experience. Would we do it again? Would we make improvements? I think we definitely make improvements to it. We definitely tweak it. But I think the interesting thing is that we've used this strategy in a national broadcaster. But to me, I think a similar sort of approach could work across the board, to be honest, because basically, we all have these devices. As I said, once upon a time, not so long ago, we were producing television from them. Now we're producing all sorts of content for all sorts of different platforms. They were our take-homes. Here's your take-home. This is my gift. This is my five favorite apps, which we've used to produce this kind of content. I will share them via my Twitter account later anyway, so don't worry about taking the photographs, although it's very gratifying to see all the photos. But look, there, if you want to get started, if you want to get started having fun making this kind of content, if you want to start producing really sort of good, solid social content, and you want to start using the device that you all have, these apps are a really good start. Anyway, that's enough of me. As I said, we have